Muffy Walker is a longtime mental health advocate, entrepreneur, and co-founder of the International Bipolar Foundation. With advanced degrees in psychiatric nursing and business, she spent more than 3 decades educating the public and leading national efforts to reduce stigma around mental illness. She now brings that expertise into fiction with her debut fiction novel, Memory Weavers, tackling Alzheimer's disease. And Muffy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I read the book. I really loved it. Now, your website, you describe yourself as an author who looks to both educate and inspire. This book does both. How did you get to this space as an author?
This is my first, as you said, it's a debut fiction novel. And I started writing the book 13 years ago. If you had told me that it was going to take me that long then, I don't think I would have continued. In any case, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 23 years ago. And I became her primary caregiver when we moved her out from the East Coast to California. So I have a lot of hands-on experience taking care of someone with Alzheimer's. And now my mother-in-law, who is in hospice for Alzheimer's, she has Alzheimer's now, and I was also a caregiver for her when she moved to Switzerland with us. So that just kind of played out in my mind, and a story came into my head, and voila, we have Memory Weavers.
And as a fellow advocate for Alzheimer's disease, I'm board chair for Alzheimer's San Diego here. It tells that story well, and it's a beautiful story. It's about Hadley. She's a stylish, successful woman in New York City, a mother who's got everything going, and she gets this diagnosis of this really aggressive, early onset form of Alzheimer's disease. What was your inspiration for telling this specific story? I know that you cared for your mom and went through that, and you have a mother-in-law right now, but Hadley's a little bit different. Where did that come from?
Well, the book is interesting because there's a lot of real things from my life playbook that enter into it. So for instance, if I had had a daughter, I have 3 sons, I would have named her Hadley.
Okay.
So that character is Hadley. And she's more or less fashioned after my mother, a proper woman, an attractive woman. And then it just kind of snowballs and builds on that.
Where did the idea to fictionalize this come from, though? Because you work in so much important detail about the disease, but in such a flow of the story. It really educates, just as you said, and inspires people to learn more.
It really was my goal for it to be the reader to leave knowing scientific facts, medical facts about Alzheimer's and PTSD, as the other character has in the book. And as you know, there is a resource section at the back of the book. So after people have read the story, if they want to get more information about Alzheimer's or PTSD or rape or domestic abuse, those resources are in the back of the book. There's another very, very well-known author, Jodi Picoult, who has written a lot of books. And I wanted to fashion my book after the way she writes, that you learn about an issue or a disease. It's not fluff, it's spot on. Mm-hmm. And my book has been said by Dr. Craig Venter and Dr. Husseini Manji, who endorsed the book, that this is a scientifically spot-on book. Mm-hmm. These are facts that I'm bringing into the story.
And somebody familiar with the space, I would tell people, if you, a loved one, a friend has a newer diagnosis, there's a lot of factual stuff to read. It can be kind of dry. Read this book too, because a lot of people have misconceptions about what Alzheimer's disease is. They think people just forget things. But Hadley starts to exhibit different kinds of behaviors that people don't understand in her life. It's completely out of character, and that's something that's very common.
Yes, and I tried to bring in issues like the stigma. If you remember when Bergen hears the older women like gossiping about Hadley, who they say is
Bergen's Hadley's husband.
Yes, and Bergen was my godfather in real life. And he overhears 2 women speaking poorly of Hadley and calling her demented, and he sets them straight. And that's another issue that I wanted to bring to the forefront, was the stigma, much like what is available, not available, but is present with bipolar in my International Bipolar Foundation. That was a big charge to, eliminate the stigma.
Now, the story is really built around Hadley and her diagnosis, but there's another very significant plot line. It's Rachel, a much younger woman. She's college age. She was raped by a stranger, traumatized, struggling to move forward with life. These 2 strike up a relationship, and it's a little bit different. They have a journey that gives to both in very different ways. What is the message behind that for you to people?
Well, the book originally, I think probably why it took 13 years to write, was originally a person with Alzheimer's and a person with bipolar disorder. And they didn't mesh. So I needed something that went along with the issue of memory. And of course, PTSD is the person doesn't want their memories.
Right.
And Hadley desperately is clinging to her memories. So I wanted them to join forces to help each other out on their different journeys and to forge a deep friendship and a love for each other, even though they were 20-some years apart in age.
Did you intentionally, or did you see it at the end that you've shown the different frameworks of relationships for people living with dementia? You have your family and friends who've seen you one way their entire life, and they understand you one way, and they can only be confused by the changes, not fully understand it. And this person who's new in her life that knows her through this and walks her through that journey in a fresh way. Did you really think in those terms about splitting those up and how they impacted an individual living with this?
I don't think I thought that through. I think it
there.
just was organic.
It's there, and it's very important because as caregivers, as loved ones, we can be trapped trying to protect them so much that we're stopping ourselves from processing it, much like Bergen does, the husband in this book. And so having somebody outside treat them just like a person is so important.
And each character in Hadley's family is grappling with her diagnosis in a different way.
Right.
One is so into it and goes to Alzheimer's support groups and listens and reads. Another develops an obsessive compulsive disorder to kind of deal with the stress. And another wants nothing to do with it. So, and I think these are all common pathways that people may take.
If you go to your website, you can see blurbs, and it's just from all these incredible people who are involved in the field. How did that feel to you to get that kind of recognition, reinforcement for putting this message out there as an advocate?
Well, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I actually did have my genome sequenced. So I went through that process at Dr. Venter's Institute. And of course, Dr. Venter is one of the two who sequenced the human genome. So to have him endorse my book was really a pat on my back.
And for people who are going to read the book, understand that genome sequencing, that testing, that is out there and available. It's not free, it's kind of pricey, and insurance may or may not be involved. But that's how Hadley found out that she has this form of Alzheimer's disease. Yes. What would you say to people who are thinking about going on that journey to find out more? What should they arm themselves with before they enter that process?
It's a difficult process. When I first went to get my genome sequenced, I was really excited. I thought this is going to be just much like Hadley, very excited, being proactive. I'm going to take care of something if I find out I have XYZ disease down the road. But then when you go into the office and they're going to tell you on a platter, this is what you are going to get, that's pretty scary. So I think that's an individual choice, obviously, if somebody wants to know. Some people don't want to know. They just want to live out their life and be happy, and when the disease comes, it comes. I want to be proactive and do everything I can. 2 weeks ago, I had the new blood test, the tau amyloid blood test. And when I had my genome sequenced, it came back that I did not have the gene for early onset, which is different from what I'll call the typical onset. And now that I've had the blood test, there's positive, negative, and undifferentiated, which means they don't know yet. And I fell in the undifferentiated. So that's a little scary.
Sure.
So now I've contacted more experts in the field, and now I'm going to go get a PET scan.
All right. Memory Weavers is the book. Muffy Walker, I thank you for this book and taking time with us today. Again, I think we have our website, muffywalker.com. You can find out more there, find out where to get it. I know it's on Amazon and many more. But again, if you have a family member, loved one, or a friend who's going through this, get the book for them, for yourself, read it. It'll help strengthen you for this journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.